hello all. Welcome to our second edition of our community lightning talk. So last time we had, some crazy cool Appsmith apps that were built by Joseph. We were showcasing some, use cases with ChatGPT. And this time we have a really good lineup. So we'll get started. So first we have Vidushi who will be talking about the Bitly app that she had created. So Vidushi, over to you.
Alright, awesome. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Hello everyone. I made this app predominantly for marketing purposes, and most of us UTM our links when we send them for like socials or like share them across communities. And so this is a tool which easily helps you UTM a link, also shorten the link, and then you can see the statistics on the link, everything using Bitly. They have an API, and to get to the point where this app is, it's completely free. Or you only have to pay if you want to customize the initial half of the link. If you were okay with a bit.ly, then it's completely free. So what I made was you can paste a URL, you can add a source medium like the UTM parameters, get a long UTM URL, and then add a customized alias that you think is good for the short link. Then once you click get me a short URL, it shows you a preview. So there's the UTM ID that's generated for the link. So basically the link has an ID, and this is the custom link that's generated for the alias that we specified. This is an iframe that just shows how the link looks. You can copy the link from here. You can save the link. And once you save this, I had a Google Sheets integration. So this link just it adds a new row in the database, and now we can see that this link is here. Basically, it's just the audit logs blog that was written in January. I can copy the link again. I can paste the link here, and it redirects to the blog with the UTMs. So this can help me with tracking the website statistics as to how many viewers were there specifically from Twitter and this tweet thread for this blog. Moreover, so once I click on stats, it shows the total number of clicks and the country from where this was clicked, and you will also get statistics of how many clicks per country. So this is given natively by Bitly. This is not something that I'm doing. It's just that I'm using this on Appsmith using their API. So that is if you want to do a manual link pasting. But if you have something where you have a directory of all the blogs or all the contents that you want to share across the website. So this is what we had for Appsmith, where this is a list of all the blogs. Once I click share, that's when it comes takes this pre-filled into the URL field, and this is happening through query balance. So here you can see that this is coming URL is equal to the URL that I clicked there, and it autofills here. So now I don't really have to open a new tab, click on a new link, and then copy it, paste it here. I can just actually just do it in the Appsmith app. So this one app is sufficient enough to help you UTM your link, shorten it, and also monitor statistics for it. That's what I have made.
This is super cool, Budishi. I really love the way you stitched, different use cases to build, like full-fledged UTM link generator. But what was your initial, motivation to build this? Like, how did the idea come in?
Okay, so the idea came in basically because so when we share links on social and all, we obviously want to track traffic as to see where are we getting the audience from. Now, if we add longer UTM URLs, it just fills up the number of characters limit in Twitter basically. If not, it's really practical to just have a shortened URL, easy to share with everyone. So now, if I'm talking to someone about audit logs, I can just give them bit.ly/audit logs Appsmith, and then I don't really have to go to the website, look for the blog, again copy, paste it on their chat. I can just give them a shortened URL. More so, I wanted to track it in the same app, not go to Bitly's website and check how many clicks were there. So this was my initial motivation.
Awesome. So are there any plans to extend this with other use cases?
Yes. So I'm gonna bind this to Linktree. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm gonna make Linktree clone of Appsmith, and I'm gonna bind this to that. So basically, as you can see, here's the preview that's being generated. And once there's this field of add to Linksmith, which was the clone that I was developing for Linktree. So once I add it to Linksmith, it should, so this same customized UTM link should appear in the Linktree clone of Appsmith.
Got it. Awesome. Looking forward to test it out with Ushi. I'm hoping that you'll also share a forkable app with the community so that we can also extend it in bunch of different ways. All right. Thanks for your talk with Ushi. So folks, in case we have any questions, feel free to unmute and you can go ahead and ask Vidushi. All right. So next we'll be moving on to our next talk. So we have Sneha from our team who will be talking about upgrades to our Google Sheets integration. Sneha, over to you.
Hey, hi everyone. I'll start with introducing myself. So I work as a front-end engineer at Appsmith. Uh, yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yes.
All right. I hope you are able to
We
see my
can.
screen.
Yes, right.
Okay. Great. Today I'll be demoing improvements we are adding to the Google Sheet data source. So we saw that Google Sheet is the third most popularly used data source at Appsmith, but only 50% of the data sources were actually authorized and other 50% were not authorized. And since Google Sheet is a fairly simple data source to create and configure, we wanted to understand why people are not able to authorize a data source. So one thing was currently when you go to create the data source and click on
Uh,
save and authorize.
Sneha, we are seeing your Discord screen. Are you trying to share any other tab or something?
Okay, yeah. I was actually sharing the screen. Let me just do
Yeah.
it over here. Okay. So currently, when you go to create the Google Sheet data source, let's just go to that screen. Uh, you would be taken to the authorization flow and you would be seeing the permissions like these, where you see edit, create, and delete all of your Google Drive files. So we thought that maybe users are not it's difficult for users to grant access to all of their files. So we thought maybe this is one of the reasons why users are not authorizing their Google Sheet data sources. So we started researching to see if there's any way by which we can just authorize a single file or a couple of files that user wants to use with Appsmith application instead of asking for permission for all their files. And so that's how we found this drive.file scope, and we also found the Google File Picker library. So we put these two things together and created a POC to validate that idea and to see if it is possible to give access to one or two files only. And that was a success. So we decided to add that in Appsmith application. So let's just see how that improvement looks like. So now with the new improvement, when you go to Google Sheet data source creation, the first option that you would see is read or write selected Google Sheets. And once you save and authorize it, now see the permissions has changed. Over here you'll be able to see permission that see, edit, create and delete only the specific Google Drive files that you use with this app. So here we are not asking for accessing their entire drive files. So this is like a limited permissions that we are asking. And once we click on allow, it will take us back to Appsmith page. And here it will show us that file picker dialog where we can select the files like this one. So here, let's say I just want to give access to this movies database sheet. So I'll select this particular file, and I can simply generate a page with that particular data source. So let's just. Okay. Well, it's taking a lot of time. Okay, we can simply try to create a query on this particular data source. And now when you create the query, in the spreadsheet dropdown, you can see just that file that you had given access to, and you won't be able to see other sheets that exist in your drive account. Since you had not given permissions to the entire drive, you had given permission just for one file, so you would be seeing that particular file, and then you can perform all the CRUD operations that are there only on that particular file. So that's what the improvement that we are adding. So yeah.
All right. Super awesome, Sneha. I mean, can't wait to actually test this out on app.appsmith.com. Uh, but it's really nice to only give permissions to the files that we wanted to connect with. So are there any extensions to this? I mean, are we also planning to improve for the other integrations like these, or is it just for Google Sheets?
Right now, we are targeting only Google Sheets because
Mm-hmm.
Google Sheets is fairly simple to configure. You just have to have a Google account and you can connect to it. Uh, so right now, we are targeting Google Sheets only. But definitely, if in future we see that people like users are facing problem in other data sources, then we would improve there as well.
Understood. So is this something that came from user feedback, or is this something that we've iterated, as in the Appsmith team iterated, to make the experience smoother?
Uh, this is something that like our hypothesis was that maybe users are reluctant to share permissions to entire drive,
Right.
and we could do better there. Like we could just ask the user to share particular files that they want to use with Appsmith.
Understood. Got it, Sneha. Thanks a lot. Folks, in case if you have any questions, feel free to post them here. All right. So next up we have Sumit, who is going to be talking about one of the most requested features, which is Oracle integration. So Sumit, over to you.
Thanks, Vihar. Let me share my screen. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen, and the Appsmith application should be open.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So my name is Sumit, and I work as a backend engineer with Appsmith. Currently working with the data integrations team. So as we had mentioned, we had received some requests in the past for integrating Oracle database with the Appsmith platform, and finally we are able to get to it. And this is currently work in progress. And I'm going to show a few things that we have gotten working now. So I'm currently on the create new data sources page. And the flow for creating an Oracle data source is similar to any Postgres or MySQL data source. So we start from the create new data sources, and then we scroll down and find the Oracle data source icon. Then we click on it, and it takes us to the data source configuration page. So as you can see, the configuration page looks very similar to any Postgres or MySQL data source configuration page. So for the purpose of demo, I have already pre-filled one of the data source configurations, as you can see here. I'll just apply the password here. And when we click on the test button, as you can see, it gives us a validation about whether the credentials are correct or not. Once that is done, we can click on the save button, and then it takes us to a page from where we can create a new query. Now, for the purpose of demo, I have already created a query, actually quite a few. So we'll first go on to read array query. Okay, no thanks. So this is a normal SQL syntax here that we're testing out right now with smart substitution or prepared statements, as we know. Okay, so this query works. Now, interesting thing about Oracle is Oracle also supports a different variety of query, which is called as PLSQL, which is different from the normal SQL syntax. For example, if we look at this query, so this is something that we call as PLSQL syntax, and we'll also be supporting this syntax. So when we click on the run, so this query has executed fine. We're still working with the return response which says -1. Now, how do we know the query is working fine? Is because when we come back, so right now, when we ran it previously, it had 20 records. Now, if I run it again, you can see the number of records has risen to 21 because we inserted one record in the earlier query. That's all from my side. For any question, please either can shoot them now or write in the chat box.
Thanks a lot, Sumit. Can't wait to test this new feature out, and I'm pretty sure lots of other users are also waiting for this Oracle integration. I'm more than happy. So folks, we are more than happy to take feedback once we share the deploy previews. I think that is also work in progress, and we'll be sharing them soon. We'll share them and do share the feedback. Once this integration is out. So Sumit, just a curious question: will this integration also support quick actions? Meaning, right next to the data source, when we use the quick actions menu, you'll have some options to read write the queries based on actions. So will this integration support that in the initial version?
Yes, that is also work in progress, and that will also be shipped as part of V1 whenever it comes out.
Awesome, super awesome. In that case, all we need to do is just do like 2 clicks and then our query is ready. Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sumit. Super excited for this one to go out. So next up is the most exciting talk. So we have Tom, who will be talking about a use case, that we have with FrontApp. So Tom, over to you.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful to be part of the call, and it was great to see all this amazing work that's happening. So I'm glad to be part of it. I'm going to be starting with the FrontApp, which I had created. I'll just share my screen. He's saying little difficulties.
Tom, in case if you haven't shared screen before on Discord, you might need to rejoin.
Okay, let me just try that now.
Yes.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay. Great. This is some context, obviously, before I start. We use in Appsmith, we use the front app channel to get or consolidate all the emails and Discord requests and Slack feature requests and whatnot, from the customers and the community. It's all maintained on the front app because it's an amazing platform. It allows you to do that. And a support team use this, but there have been some issues which we have faced, and we have realized that the front app does not solve everything. So I'll just explain how the process was in certain cases when it came to a support request. So earlier, when a support team gets a customer request, they normally just get a message saying that internal error issue, and there'll be a screenshot, which was not sufficient for the support team to act on. And they had to. The second step would be always them reaching back to the customer, giving them the Docker, the command to retrieve the logs, and asking them. And this will take a process, right? Even the customer has to run the logs. He has to get in touch with the DevOps team to access the instance, retrieve the logs, and send it back to us. It can be delayed up to a day. So that's like the second step. And then once the support team gets the logs, then we have to find bandwidth with someone from our dev team to check on this and understand and debug, right? What's the issue? So while this is the normal procedure and this used to work well and great, there was one recurring issue that was the license expiry issue. So this entire process had to be followed through for each and every license expiry, whether it was for a trial user or for a business user, and it kind of got difficult because we offer priority support. So what we wanted to know is how we can figure out a solution to solve for this, right? So one more thing we faced in this entire process was that once we identified with the help of the dev team that the license had expired, the next step in addressing this customer issue was find out the sales rep that was involved. So that also involved, reaching out to a few people internally to understand who was last in contact with the team and all those steps, right? So this also kind of added to the delay in the support team able to quickly resolve the issue for the customer. So the main reason is the native front integrations did allow for integrating with Salesforce individually or with our intercom and those kind of things, but it was not flexible enough to get all the data in one place, right? Like we have all these multiple integrations, but we wanted a way to get all of this in one place and just use the data to get more information about the customer. So let me just take the next slide. Yeah. So this entire process, once we got back to them and renewed the license after all this delay, this kind of led to a bad customer experience, a slow resolution process, etc. So what did we do? Like, what was the solution we had created? So what we did is, our friend app or the platform, it provides integrations and also it allows you to integrate your private embed. So we checked up on the front SDK APIs and we were able to embed an Appsmith app into the front. And this Appsmith app, the Appsmith app was basically the license manager app. Like it was integrated with the license keys. So we'll get all the users or all the customers. And it was also getting information about which of these users are business users or enterprise users. So we were able to solve that part. Like we were able to get the license record of a user, and we are able to see if the user's license has expired, or is it going to expire, or is it deactivated, or those kind of details. Yeah. So as you can see in the slide, what was done is that once the you guys can still hear me, right? Am I still audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So what I was saying is, once like as you can see on the GIF I have on the side, what's happening is I click on a conversation and then I go to the side here and I click on the license icon, and then my app shows up. And then what I'm doing is the front integration allows us, or at least sends enough information about this thread, right? It returns information on who all are the users who are on the thread, whether it's from our team or for the customer's team, etc. So all that information was able to be extracted from the front integration and was able to send to the Appsmith app, right? And inside the Appsmith app, what's happening is we filter the user's email ID and retrieve the domain name, and then we search our records for the domain name. So with that, we were able to understand whether the user's license is going to expire, is he an enterprise user or a business user, and those kind of things. Like we were also able to segregate between paid and trial users so that our support team, give better priority, and that kind of smoothened the process. And additional thing is, if you notice, if you remember, I told you about how even after finding out that the license had expired, we still needed to reach out to a sales rep. Now, all the sales information is available and maintained by a sales rep on Salesforce, right? And what I thought is, why can't we integrate the same application with Salesforce? So what we did is we use the same Salesforce REST APIs, which was our team had checked up on the documentation and integrated it, and even solved the authentication steps and everything. And we were able to smoothly integrate the Salesforce. And now, as you can see, maybe I can just show another video where I'm controlling. Let me just see that. Let's see that. There is one more video. Yeah, okay. So I'll just show here so I can stop the video as well. So basically here, I'm just clicking on the license app. And here, once I get the user's email ID, I'm sorry, this is masked because it's all sensitive information. But yeah, once we get the email ID and get the domain name out of it, we were able to get the user's license and be able to see, whether it's still active and what type of license it is, whether it's business or enterprise. And after that, we can click on more details and we can see more details about the individual license, like the keygen license which we use. And we were also able to see the Salesforce data. If you see, we can see whether this user is actually a customer, how much was the stage closed, and whether he's paying us, what type of business is this, and what are the next steps and all that. So this actually kind of helps the support team quickly resolve an enterprise users issue. We were able to give better priority, and we were able to solve the smaller issues without reaching to the developer team or to the or to any sales rep. So that is how this app was created with integration with the FrontApp. So in the front, if you can note, if you like in this front platform, they provide us something like an edit sidebar plugin, and here you can just mention that Appsmith app, and you can integrate it with the front application. So yeah, so that's how this works.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. This is a mind-blowing use case. I have a few questions. So how do you basically communicate, with these iframes? Because here on the Appsmith, we are connecting. I think on the Appsmith we are directly connecting to Salesforce APIs, but we are embedding the same Appsmith on app on this front app. But how does the communication happen between the front app and Appsmith app?
Right. So what's happening is, if you can still see my screen, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what's happening is, when I click on this, right, whenever the front integration, there's an event that's happening and it's being triggered by the front app. When I click on any conversation, it will get an event trigger, and I will send a message, a post message. So with the business edition of Appsmith platform, you can send or you can add listeners, and you can even post messages to. You can add listeners and stuff. So which helps you to like the Appsmith app can identify when a message is pushed by its parent app. In this case, it is front. So what's happening is I'm able to get whenever friend communicates with my Appsmith app using the post message, and then I'm able to trigger the next step, whether it's to show a different conversation or a different license, and so yeah.
Understood. So it's basically through all iframe events that we are communicating between these two apps.
Yes. So this actually is this Appsmith embed was actually introduced recently. It was a great feature, and this not only solves for integrating with third-party platforms like these, like Front, but you can also integrate it with your internal applications wherever you have it, and this communication can be possible between your parent app and your Appsmith app, right? So it's easier to integrate or add new functionalities to your existing React application. Yeah.
Understood. I think that's like the main beautiful thing with Appsmith. Like you can connect to like n number of applications, and then you can put put everything at one place.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. Tom, do you want to also share about the KYC application?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me just open that up as well.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
All right, I think there are some issues. All right, folks. So in case if anyone has anything to present, feel free to join in. I think Joseph has a bunch of few other use cases that he wants to share. Joseph, are you there?
Yeah. Do we have anyone from the community that wants to go, or am I the last one here?
Am I audible or
Can you hear me?
I think Vihar, you're not audible. Oh, you're not hearing us?
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Joe.
Okay.
folks, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Vihar, I can hear you. Do you hear me?
No.
Yeah. Okay, you guys hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I think maybe we lost Vihar there, but I can go ahead and present.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. Cool. Can you guys see this? Are you there? You guys see this?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I've shown some of this before on the last call, so maybe we'll go back to those, but I'm going to pick up with some of the newer stuff. So let's see. This is an interface for ChatGPT's completions. So you send a prompt and then it sends something back, and if you want to continue that conversation, this has, let me just start out with, what is Appsmith? So you can send a prompt to it. It's storing the value in the local store, or in the Appsmith store, and that way it can build and display the history of it, because the way it returns the data, it only returns this, the one response. And if you want to ask a follow-up question and then have that conversation continue, you have to concatenate both these together, send it an array of messages of here's the role, it's user, and the content is, whatever question you have, and then you'd send the assistance. And so this builds all of that up, so that you can just continue to have that conversation. And then this time it's sending all three of these, so that the next response is based off of the entire conversation so far. And so then you can copy the response out of this, and if you were asking it to write some code or something, then you'd have easy access to that to get the response, copy it, and maybe have it write some JavaScript that you can use in the rest of your app. Like filter a data set where the ID is even. Let's see how well it does with this. Can you guys still hear me? It's awful
Yes.
quiet. Okay. And I've been using this to write a ton of code. I'll kind of iterate on ideas with it, tell it what I'm trying to build, and sometimes get some advice before I really start building. So you can see this has got a JavaScript function that takes some data, and then it returns the data.filter where the item ID, the modulus of that, so even if it's even, if it equals 0. And so there's no remainder. It's divided by 2 and no remainder, so it's even. So this would filter your data, and the way this is currently set up, it's going to reply with some extra text around it, and when you copy this, you're getting everything. So the next thing I'm working on is making the copy button just parse out the section of it that's in code blocks so that you could easily copy that and put it into your app. All of these things in here are kind of experiments that are half done, but I wanted to show what we're working on. So this one's, like I said, the chat completion endpoint. Some of these things integrate directly with the ChatGPT API. Other things are just the resulting code of, having a discussion with it and figuring out how to format something, and then I'll put that code in Appsmith. So here's an example of when I'm starting. very early, really rough here, but it's kind of a proof of concept where you've got a single input, single output, and you want to run different functions on it and be able to extend this and keep adding new functions and basically just build this converter that has a bunch of different options to convert from one format to the next. So if I want to convert this input, which is valid HTML, to plain text, it pulls out the HTML tags and just gives me the text. If I want to convert it to uppercase, now it's not about HTML, it's just a string. And so it converted all of it to upper or all of it to lower. You can see that there's the one uppercase there. And so this is really simple, just a proof of concept, running the same input on multiple functions, but I wanted it to be really extendable to where people could just submit their own function. And so to write that, I had a chat with ChatGTP, telling it what I wanted to build, and it helped me come up with this structure where I've got an object of converters, and each one, it has a name, and then another object that says, when I call this, run this function. These are down at the bottom, I'll show you in a second. But they all have a name, a function that it runs, description and a category and an icon to help sort it out. And then they optionally have a validation function so that you can check the input before you run it through the output, and then an error if that is true, validation is true. So the idea is that you want to add a new function, you update this config object saying, okay, here's the function name, description, and everything, and then you would paste that function down here, and they all are the same format. It takes an input and returns whatever. So now I can add new functions to this. It shows up in the sidebar, and it processes this input to whatever output. And so it can end up being like base 64, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, CSV. You know, there's tons of options of what you could convert and start adding in extra libraries. But this is kind of the shell of it. That's where I'm at so far. I'm going to put in some validation UI stuff to show when the one that you're working on has a bad input. And yeah, that's about as far along as I am on this one. So let's go to the next one here. Hang on, guys. I can't see the tab here to switch. Here we go. Okay, the next one here. This is another one that I used ChatGTP to help me write the code, but it doesn't integrate live, right? I'm not talking to the API at this point. So I wanted a drawing pad, and it wrote something with P5.js. And at first it was just one color with a color picker, and it could draw a line. And then if I tried to change the color and draw another line, it would change the color of the first line, basically. The first version of the code that it gave me back. It kind of worked, but now the next line, you know, they would change them both to red. And then if I changed this to blue, everything turned blue, you know. So I had to go back and forth with it a little bit, but I was eventually able to get it to where it has undo. That's like a stack of undo. And then you can save it, and it posts a message from the iframe to the parent app, and then saves that value so that you can then view it here. And this is another iframe, but it's just viewing the value that's in the Appsmith store, which is the resulting SVG that was posted out of this window. So let's see, on to the next one here. I got a signature pad that's pretty similar. It's a different library, but the same approach. So you want to capture a signature. You got some code running in an iframe here, and you can sign, save, and it posts a message out of this iframe back to the parent. And let's see, what is it? This one's an image widget this time that I'm using to display it. So you can, depending on the format, you can display the result in another iframe or in an image widget. Here I'm showing the entire response that gets posted out is an object that's type, signature, data, and then the data. Is there anything else at the bottom? No, that's it. And so then this just goes in another level deep and just shows only the data. All right, next. Sorry, question there?
So Joseph, I'm just curious. So you mentioned that you're using a different library. So can you brief us
Oh,
about that?
sure. Yes, this one is using the signature pad library, which I was able to import, but actually I'm not using the imported version. Sometimes, the library is compatible as far as importing, but then it wants to update the DOM or do certain things that it doesn't have access to. And so this one is actually running. I had to put this code in an external site to get around the Appsmith cloud limitation of cross-origin scripts. And so you guys aren't, I think I'm only sharing one window. Do you guys see this, the new window?
No, we are still seeing the Appsmith app.
Okay. So I will maybe post some more later to show you guys how this works. But there's a cross-origin script issue, and if you just take that code that you wanted in the iframe here and show it, host it somewhere else, and then view it in the iframe, now it's able to import that library. So I couldn't get the library working by typing my HTML in the source doc here, but by hosting it somewhere else and then letting it load up, then it was able to work in the iframe. So yeah, it's and the library is called Signature Pad.
Got it.
Okay, so the next one, again, this is one that ChatGPT wrote the code for, but it doesn't live integrate with the API. And we had a request about a custom widget for a micro plate or a micro flask plate, and it's this grid where you put in these little samples for different medical tests, and there's just like a grid of X number of rows and columns, and each one's got an ID and a status and a color and whatnot. And so I described what I wanted to build to ChatGPT, and it gave me, and I told it I wanted variables for the size, and I would pass in different data. And so in this example, I've got X and a Y value, and then some kind of data being displayed at that point. So the data could be like lots of different things. You might have a status or the cell's empty or whatever, labels and stuff that goes with it. But at the top level, it's just a plot, an X and a Y, and then some data that goes with that point. And I have two versions of that data set. And so ChatGPT wrote the function for me to plot this stuff and then turn it into a table, basically, with some CSS that adds the colors, and it uses a template literal to pass in those variables from each element in the data. And now I can swap out, pass in different data. I had this chat with it about the problem I would have if I was trying to write this. I wanted to keep the data structure flat. Like, regardless of how many rows and columns, I just wanted one array. I didn't want it to be dependent on a nested array, that sometimes the first element of the array is 3 arrays and sometimes it's 4, and that would just get ugly and hard to manage. So I wanted to be able to just pass it a list of XY values of any range, and based on the values in the X and the Y, figure out what the max and the min are so that you can generate those columns. And I asked ChatGPT if there was a way to do it in one pass, and it seemed like it was a better approach to have 2 passes. So I've got a min and a max that I'm trying to find, and I got to do a for each over all of that to figure out what those min and max values are. And then once you've got that, you're going to have to map over it again to generate the HTML. And I think it could have been done in a single pass, but it was a little ugly and hard to hard to understand and edit the code. So it maps over the flat array once to find the min and the max, and then based on those, it creates the grid layout here, passes in the colors and the labels and everything. And I think I have a click event too. Yes. See, I was posting a message with, this is out of the iframe, and then Appsmith is displaying the message now. And so the iframe on message received, let's see. when a message is received from here, it just displays it. And so inside the iframe, the code is saying, when a button's clicked, post a message with the label from this cell. And then that gets received and just shown outside the app. And you could easily go the other direction and send some data back in. Like maybe you could have a table widget out here and you select, something you want to put into this cell. So that's kind of the end goal that the user had in mind. I threw this together as a quick demo of kind of what's possible, but the idea is maybe it could go both directions, and you'd say, I want to put this sample in this cell, and then it would click and update and pass in that data and maybe do a update or a create API call to update that backend data that was generating this in the first place. Okay, what else? Some of these are really far from being ready. This thing's crazy. This is not working yet, but I want to show it anyway. Try to make like a game, maybe, like components for a game. And so what I wanted here was, I passed it in some pie chart data of an array that's got a segment label and a color and maybe like which one's selected or something. And it gave me back some code that it's doing something. It's totally not what I was going for yet, but this one's still a work in progress. This one was way off. I asked it to do something way too complicated, and I wanted this arrow to come out from the middle like a clock and to be pointing at one of the segments or have it lit up or something. So far, I haven't got any usable code out of it, but it's still kind of neat to look at. I just asked ChatGPT to write this pie chart thing from some data and show the names on it. Yeah, that's the closest I've gotten so far on this one. Okay, a grid widget. This one is responsive with the rows and the columns here. So you can see I got one column. Now it's a smaller image at 2, and then the images are getting bigger until it decides there's enough room for 3. So it's a responsive grid coming from this random user API data, and I've got it broken into 3 files. I'll start with the easy stuff here. So just a template literal of the CSS that I want to use, and I'm not even passing in any variables. It's just static. Each grid is one element, and it's a div, and okay, so I'm not really using template literals. I have placeholders here that I'm going to map over this and swap out some values. And then the doc itself, and so this is mostly static HTML of what it gave me back. And then I just put in a placeholder there to reference the style file. It's in a separate one just to keep it easier to edit. Const template. So I'm inserting the template from my other file here and the data that I wanted to use. And then the function that merges these two, the raw data and the template, that's all running in the iframe. That's just happening in regular JavaScript in an iframe, separate from Appsmith's editor JavaScript environment. It's not running here. It generates this code and loads that into the page, and then the page takes over and runs that code. And so now I've got the values from the data being passed to each one of these elements here. But these are individual divs of HTML. It's not widgets. So to make properties, to make this have a color that changes, you don't have a widget property pane over here. That just means you've got to write more code that passes in something from the data to make this a color or clickable or whatever. So it was pretty easy to get the grid working. To make it fully interactive and pass in values and click events and all that stuff, it gets a little complex, but it's kind of a proof of concept. Okay, let's see, what else? That might be about it. This one is really early. The idea with this one is that I've got an XY series that I want to show overlaid on an image. And so I've got the Appsmith logo and 2 points that I want to plot. What color is the point? And then it maps over that and gives me back a div here that I can display. And so you can see I've got the Appsmith logo, and I thought there was going to be some dots plotted on it. Oh yeah, right down here. So you can see that it's very early. I haven't got this scaled to the image. Maybe I should go off percents or something, or enforce like a square image ratio. But the idea is that you could select an image and then display that with a bunch of plots at different points based on your data. And so it works. It's a proof of concept, really rough, but all of this stuff is an idea that I had, and I asked ChatGPT how to write it. So I think that's about it. The other stuff I've shown before here, but if anybody has questions on any of that, is there anything we want to go into?
No, Joseph, I think this is like great. We have gone through some bunch of applications. I'm pretty sure there should be like crazy questions. But I'll probably ask you, share them on the chat.
Cool.
They're just curious.
All right.
For the ChatSmith application, what database are you using to save all the responses from ChatGPT?
Oh, I'm not. It's just in the Appsmith store. So to display it in the table widget, every time I click the prompt button to send it, it looks in the Appsmith store to see if there's an array there yet. And if not, it creates it. And then it pushes a new value to that. And when it gets the response back, now it's just in the API response. I guess I can go ahead and show this. Let me jump back to that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the send prompt button runs this send prompt ChatGPT function here. And it says that the current thread is whatever is in the Appsmith store or an empty array. So if there's nothing there, it just falls back to empty. The current prompt is, and then it has to build up this object. So you say that this is coming from the user and the content is image one text or input one text. And then the new thread is just concatenating those two. Store the new thread and then run the API again. And after the API runs, you got to push that response back onto the chat as well. So if there's anything there and the choice is 0, it's always going to be the first one unless you ask for more. The default is n equals 1, I think, is the variable it's using. And it's like a property saying how many versions of the response do you want back. So unless you ask for more, it's going to be the data.choices 0 and then message. So every time I click that button, it's pushing that new value or concatenating it to the store, running the API. Oh yeah, that's the last piece here. The API body is use this model, and here's the array of messages. Now, I wanted an ID in this because the table widget, it likes to have an ID, but then it was failing when I sent an extra property. If I include the ID once ChatGPT receives it, it says that it can only have a role and a content. And so I'm stripping it back out at this point, right before it gets sent off.
Got it. Thanks.
I think that's everything. This one took a little while to get this as like simple and clean as it is here. But once you got the right format, it's pretty easy. It's just add one value to the array and run it again. And when you get a response, add that back to the array too.
Understood. I think after looking at all these things, I'm thinking, your favorite stack must be Appsmith's iframe widget, ChatGPT, and JavaScript.
Yeah. I realized the last month or so there's a ton of new possibilities with just the iframe widget.
Understood. Awesome. So folks, do reach out to Joseph in case if you have any questions. He's always there on our Discord, and I think he can also share a few forkable application in case if you are curious to see how these works. Thanks a lot, Joseph. All right.
No problem.
Yeah. We have our last talk. Tom again, will be sharing a quick use case, around KYC. So Tom, over to you.
Hey guys, I'm back. And let me just share my screen. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. So some context again. Basically, we realized we needed to create a good template, and we decided to focus on the fintech sector. With the rise of a lot of fintechs right now, most of these companies, they need something called a KYC process for each of your customers. The KYC or the know your customer flow is basically every customer they have, they should have enough details regarding their name, the last name, the address, any identity proofs, whether it's a social security number or maybe PAN card, driver's license, etc. So it all can be dependent based. Can be different based on the country or area and everything. But we decided to create a generic template that can understand and help the support team address some of these issues. So one of the main issues we normally see is that the customer is expected to do the KYC process on the website, right? Like on the end website, and they face some error. There is some issue uploading, or the uploaded image does not look clear. So these kind of things can affect their verification process, and they will still be stuck in pending. So most fintechs, they usually have a third-party tool, integrated, which does this automatically for them. So but if at all it fails, because not everything can be 100% accurate. So in that scenario is when the customer support's intervention is needed. So normally what would happen is a user would reach out to maybe like the customer support team and saying, like, hey, my status has been pending for the past 1 week. What do I need to do about it? So then that's when the support team goes to this web application, which is created on Appsmith, and he'll just click on pending, and then he'll see the entire table filtered by pending, and now he'll search for the user's name. That is maybe like in this case, let me give you example Bianca. So if I click on Bianca's name, I'll see the details. And now I can verify, me being the support team member, I can verify whether the details she had provided is sufficient and it's accurate as well, right? So I'll just go through the details. I'll see her address if everything is there. And then I also check, has she uploaded any documents? So I can see that she's uploaded a passport. So I'll just click on documents and see that, like the passport is, what do you call it? It is uploaded correctly, and I can see the details. And if at all, they sometimes the user makes a mistake of uploading it in a different rotation, right? So the widget or the image widget, which is used here, can, other than zooming in, like I just showed you, you can also rotate, and you can see it in the right format. If at all, some mishap happens on the user's end, giving the upside down photo. So now the process is like, now I'm verifying the photo, and now I can see that she has details. But if at all, if it was not sufficient or if it was not clear, I would ask the user, I'll go back, I'll keep the status as pending, and I'll just message back to the user, like the uploaded picture is not of good quality, right? And this can be when I click on save changes, I can also send as a mail, or like if I reject it, or I can give a reason and see like this. So I can give these kind of actions, and I can click save, and the respective email will be going to the user if the SMTP and everything is configured for this app. And similarly, that can be done. And now, in case now after this, after I have reached out to this user saying that the uploaded picture is not good quality, now the user is saying that she is having some difficulty uploading the new picture or the new identity. Right, the app is not just working. So what she can do is she can send me the image, maybe to email, to the thread we were already communicating by. And what I can do is I can go to the documents and click on upload more files. Now in this case, now I'll just she had sent me perhaps a utility bill. I will just upload that bill for her, and just for the demo sake, I'm using an image URL actually. But we if you Appsmith has a upload widget as well, so you can use that widget instead here, and upload these files to some S3 bucket. That functionality is there, but just for the demo purpose, I made it a little simple. So what I can do is I can just now copy that URL or the image which she had sent, paste it here, and I just click upload. Right, and now I can see, if I click, I can see, okay, it's just having a difficulty, but let me just refresh. Let me see once more. It's just loading. Yeah. So this user documents, and let's see if it's uploaded. Okay, there seems to be some issue with maybe the URI did, but you can do this. Like you can upload for the user as well if they are facing difficulties. So that's where the support team comes in, right? Manual intervention where the app or the website that the user is using is not working. So normally what would happen is earlier if this app wasn't there, what happens is the request will be received by the customer support person. He will again go through this entire process of identifying the issue, trying to reach out to a dev person, reserving his bandwidth to figure out what might be and how can we fix it. And all this thing can happen. But with an app like this, so customer support team members can quickly identify the issue, reach out to the user, and also help them resolve the issue, right? So all this is possible with this KYC app which we had created. So this is just while this is just the table and a tab widget which is having all these details. Like now, if I go to Bianca, if I feel that her details were sufficient and everything, I can just go to verification. I can just change this status to verified. I'm like all good. All looks good ish, and just click save. I can also click send email notification, and it will go to that user. But if I click save changes, the details will be updated, and now that user is a verified user, right? So this is possible, and what we are doing is basically here when I click on any of these uh, statuses or any of these what metrics over here, I can see my table. One second. Let's just see. Okay, I can see the table filtered accordingly here, and I can see all the blacklisted users, all the pending users, etc. Just a second, let me just reload this. Yeah. So what I was trying to show is basically we introduce another thing where we can click on this and immediately be redirected. Taken to below the fold where the table is. So if I click on now pending, I'll be taken down and it'll be filtered by pending. So this is something additional which our team had created. And you can also filter these users from between like maybe something like March to 30th. And you'll see only those users and those kind of filters. So all this was a single page application, and this is helping the customer support team. Now, on top of this, we have metrics. We have data about how many users have registered on the platform, how many users are yet to be verified, like they're stuck in the pending, and how many of them have got verified successfully, whether it's by manual intervention or whether it's by the third party tool that's being used. And then, because it's a fintech, there's a lot of people who try to misuse, and you would need to find them out and block them or reject them. So we can also have a metric that measures that as well. And in this, we show two types of charts. One is the successful verification, because that's great for the data analytics to understand what went wrong, how bad it was maybe in December where no one was verified. That was bad. And in March, we have done a much better job than earlier. And we have seemed to be improving our processes, right? Maybe because of the app. But yeah, so like this is just one chart, and the other chart is like the daily registered users, just to understand whether enough users are being on the platform, is anything dropping, those kind of things. And we can also slide through. We've created like a carousel kind of thing for these charts. So you can go to the next chart and you can see the all the users filtered or as a pie chart, right? And seeing which all buckets they are placed into. So we can see that we have 27% verified, which is more than most, but we still have improvement. But like, in the end of the day, this is all a template. But what we try to do is create a basic generic template to give an idea to users to understand how easy it is to get their processes done on this app, as well as they can easily adapt their functionalities. If you need to use some other document type, you can just change in the code and make some small changes, enable some email configuration, and you can quickly get it working for your side. But yeah, like that's how we had created this application for. And yeah, that's what.
Thanks a lot, Tom. I think a lot of users, organization, companies, they kind of stuck figuring out what tool they wanted to use for building this, full-fledged KYC applications.
Right.
But I think this app exactly, fulfills all their needs, and it's like an, quick starter thing for them as well. And one more advantage is that, with Appsmith, they can connect to whatever database they want to, and
Right.
have flexibility to extend it, the way they want to. But this is like super cool. The UI is clean. It has like all the features, and the cool part is it is extendable. So can we get like a forkable thing for this application for our community?
Yes, if you can see, actually now it's already forkable but by the end of this week we will be releasing it as a template. So you will be able to access it from the templates page of our website, and you will see something called the KYC dashboard. It's not yet released, just a minor thing, but yeah, maybe before the end of this week this will be done.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Tom. Thank you all for joining. That's all for this community lightning talks. I'll see you in the next one. So do share, the cool things you build on Appsmith to the community. Thank you.